Welcome to another episode of the Comic Zone. I'm, as always, Charles. We've got odds and ends today. Now, last week on the Comic Zone, I teased that I was going to do a deeper dive into Nick Johnson and the work that he's been doing. We're going to get to that next time. I want to mop up before we get to that, because I want to do a real deep dive and probably a read through of some of Nick's stuff. I wanted to do another sort of odds and ends from things I've picked up over the last year or so here. So I've got some things I picked up at the Edmonton Comic Expo in 2022, some things I picked up since then, and some things I've also picked up at a couple of other shows from the Shelf Life and Community Wise Zine Party that was in October or November of 2022, as well as some stuff I picked up at a show called Starry Dynamo, which one of the artists and creators you'll see in here actually puts this other show together called Starry Dynamo, which is a really great creators and makers and comic and zine and handicrafts and everything else under the sun fair that goes on here in Calgary. It's a really great one. I'd like to get into it at some point with some of our stuff for Genki and some of my personal stuff, but that's my little pipe dream is to be a part of that. So Kevin Stebner here, who we're going to touch on some of his stuff, he puts on that show, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's pull this all aside and go through it piece by piece. First thing I want to look at today, and as always, I'm going to be putting people's Instagram handles in most cases, or other ways that you can check out their stuff and support these creators. This first one is actually from some folks we've had on here before. We've got Chad Colpitts, we've got Cam Hayden, and Bill Bateman. Now, Bill, I have never met. Chad and Cam, I've both met. Chad, I met at panel one of this year, and is a frequent collaborator with Cam Hayden. And Cam Hayden, we've had his stuff quite often on this show. So we're going to take a look through here. I'm going to quickly grab the information for all these folks. We've got Chad Colpitts. Bear with me while I do all of this fun stuff. Chad _ Colpitts. Okay, so we've got Chad Colpitts, we've got Cam Hayden, and Bill Bateman. I do not have his information, but I'm going to see if I can find him. Bill Bateman, here he is. I'll give him a follow right now as well. And I welcome you to do the same. At B Bateman is Bill's information. Now this is a great stuff. So the imprint that they kind of work under is this tongue-in-cheek comics. That's the outfit that I think Chad has for creating comics and production. Let me try not to destroy this. I've successfully not destroyed this a couple of times. My luck is still holding out. These are great because they're wrapped like much like the old cards you would have found with some bubble gum inside when I was a kid, which I love. It's kind of this almost waxish paper, but it's really great. Okay. Let me get myself all situated here. So these cards are great. It's called Attack of the Mole Men. And we get a series of cards that have art on one side, and they have a like a conversation that's happening on a cell phone on the other side. In some cases, here's a broken phone for one of them. The Spinning Tower of Death. It has this like War of the Worlds style. The world being kind of torn apart. Pretty cool stuff. So in here there is it was a 10 card pack. from 1 to 10. The art mainly by Cam Hayden on the back side. This one is prepare for the uprising. So here are the mole men getting ready to attack. It's got, oh, my old eyes. I gotta look super close. You're gonna see my head get real deep in here. Hey, you know that drone we sent to the center of the Earth to gather samples and footage? Yes, Stan, of course I do. Check out the disturbing video it recorded. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. Stan, that is clearly fake footage. Chuck is probably messing with you again. You are the most gullible geologist I ever met. It's neat because these cards, they have a series, it actually tells the story of the uprising of the mole men, and gives you both a visual and a narrative piece, which is really cool. And the second one, called Ascending to the Surface. I'm not going to read each and every one of these, but we're going to take a look. Look at that. They're driving their mole mobile, which just has two mole hands digging in front of it. Now here's the icy welcome, which the mole men, if I can get this thing to, there we go. If I get this thing to focus at all, they end up coming straight up through the middle of a hockey game and impaling people. Next one is a shocking sight, where the mole men are electrocuting a workman who's digging, because they've had enough. They've had enough of us digging and meddling with the earth. They're not going to take it anymore. Here's that spinning tower of death that we looked at previously. My camera is not wanting to really do the things I want it to do today, like focus, or stay in focus, or get into focus. This next one is Canine Carnage. Here they are at the dog park, eating everybody's dogs. The Horror Host. This is some crazy stuff. As usual, Cam Hayden, his artwork never disappoints. Chad Colpitts in the way he writes stuff and draws stuff and never disappoints. Soaking in a Vacation. Here's a mole person just having a nice time. Now that the beach is all theirs, they can sit and just relax. Put on a little sunscreen. Queen of the Mole Men. That one. There's one of our Mounties are trying to do something about it. Our armed forces are there. Canada. This is a very Canadian thing. That's what I like about it. It's got this really goofy, fun Canadian thing. And here's sending for help. So here's a bottle. Here's a bottle being sent to the depths of the ocean, seeking help. So I do not know if there's a second set of these, if there's a continuing story of it. They've this group, and Cam, I know, has done some on his own, and I think this group as well. They've done some other sets. I don't know if it continues this story or not, but I know I've seen other card packs out there. I haven't had the good fortune to pick them up for myself, but I'm gonna have to do that. This happened to be so my comics collaborator Gord picked up a couple of these ones and had a double of this set. So this was a gift from him. He's Attack of the Mole Men. It's a good one. Here's another really fun random one. So this is a creator I met at the Edmonton Comic Expo in 2022. And we're going to be back there again this year, in September of this year. So this is Miguel Molina. He does these really great. He does pins and magnets and all sorts of. It's very tactile. He makes actual physical things, which is awesome. He makes this great art, but then he knows how to turn it into a real thing. So Miguel's information. Let's grab that. MM Art Department is the one, I believe. Yeah, Miguel Molina. He does awesome stuff. So you can follow him. Whoop, over there at MM_Art Department, DEPT. So he does these really great, vectorized illustrations for various things of fandom. So this one here is Los Angeles for in 2019 in Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner. This is Deckard riding his little police car to the Tyrell Corps headquarters. So this is his what he calls the stamp series, the Fandom World Pins series, and these are the stamp-based ones, so they're made to look like a postage stamp. And the attention to detail and the beautiful line work, and then the attention to detail, the 19 cents here. Every time that you see something like that, it plays into what the world is that he's depicting. So this is supposed to be, because this was 2019 Los Angeles in that movie. And the stuff that Miguel has been creating is spectacular. And he knows how to make a thing that's got this very fine detail, but it actually the detail all comes out. He's got a really great pin producer. So this is Neo Tokyo from 1982's Akira. Here's The Grid from Tron. Again, it's got 82 on it. This is the Cowboy Bebop ship, which is really awesome. He's got a whole set of these. There's lots of them, but I picked out 6 of my favorites when I was shopping with his stuff. Here's Arrakis from Dune. I believe the 65 is to do with when the book was written. Is that right? Could be wrong. And here we go, Kokiri Forest with Link and the Great Deku Tree from your Legend of Zelda. Hey, Mapricot, how are you? And 86 is the first year that the first Zelda game came out. Believe it or not, holy cow. Coming in on 40 years of Zelda. So yeah, Miguel Molina's work, really beautiful. Really quite nice. And he does work, you can get some stuff from him that's like this big around rather than these smaller pins, but these are great. I want to put these on a backpack at some point. Now we're going to switch over to some things I picked up at the Starry Dynamo show that I mentioned earlier. What we'll do is we will start with these two here. We're going to look at 3 more creators. It's going to be a very short program today. I just wanted to look at some of these fun, random ones I picked up over the last few years, or over the last year. So Adrian Adams, I met at the Starry Dynamo. Really nice, really nice. And so this is, once again, as I've talked about quite often, I love your sort of classic 8-page zine style stuff with the slit in the middle. I'm a sucker for an 8-page zine. This one's Red Cherries, and it's got these great poems in them. Let's read a couple of these. Nectar, my red darling. Rub red against nectar. Lie down to sausage hold, pomegranate hands, offering grandmother bread. Bake hopes against desire. Drizzle saucy syllables. Tongues ruining necks. Play dolls. House falling. cards decked, ready for prom, drown. Climb memory for roots. I am the queen of the castle, and you, my darling rascal. This just has a set of really cool, really cool poems that Adrian wrote. That's where you can follow Adrian Adams. Adams. So Red Cherries is just really nice writings. This one here is really beautiful. It's got a nice linen. Yeah, I know. Some of these, you're right, Mapricot. So that sounds almost sinister, right? And quite a lot of these, they have a little bit of that like sinister undertone to them. Like let's read one more before we move on to the egg test. So let's read Moon Jar. Good night, dear bell jar. Be a good girl. Moro morose. Meander men. Pens prick. Cockle-doodle-doo. Time. London Bridge falls rivers from here. Rhymes history to reason. Politics pout two tumbling towers. Run out yelling cats, spoon, the moon. So a lot of these have like this mix of like almost like children's rhymes and fairy tale stuff mixed in with like, yeah, with that sinister undertone. There's definitely some sinister stuff in it. It's like it starts as something really seeming like quite pastoral, right? Quite nice and with some whimsy, and then it gets weird because it's like a word salad, right? Like it's just like, but once you start dissecting the words and how they relate to each other, yeah, it gets a little freaky. So that's Red Cherries from Adrian Adams. And the egg test, as I was showing here, it's got a nice, it's got some thread. It's been actually sewn together, which is awesome. I love when I see people do that. I'm always too clumsy to do that kind of thing, but it's really nice. It's got a beautiful linen cover, feels really nice. Called the Egg Test. And this one's written by Adrian with art from Taylor Schenkeveld. I love that it's got this like thick, blacker than black paper inside, like the blackest night. Let's read this one right out. The egg test. Why eggs? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. I think it has to do with things like, to me, I think it has things to do with like fertility of humans. Yeah. I think it'll become more clear as I read it out. The egg test. The egg in the nest cradles the dove on the wings of hope, winding the ribbon of time around its shell. Nestle in the memory of ages, cracking the code of generations. Coming out crying a chorus of alleluias, beckoning us to be our own DNA embedded in the fiber of our cells. Twist your dreams into knots. Reconfigure, be your self-brand, new on the ancient stand of rocking instances. Can you be fine? Smile dewy lines through the shrine of grief. Walk again once you've lain down devils, hopes slain by dragons. Breathe babies anew each time you move. There's another great illustration. Tell me, what kind of magician are you? Can you treat witchcraft as a special hue? How much ease have you? Yeah, so again, it's got that sort of subversive writing. And it almost has to do with like that like memory in our cells, the way our yeah. It's wild. I think the writing is amazing. I could never write something like this because my mind could not put the words together in this way. So it's great stuff. So that's Adrian Adams stuff. Yeah, no problem. You haven't been here, Apricot. We all got lots of things to do, that's for sure. I'm glad you're here now. Yes, that one that one's much less freaky than the other ones. That red cherries, it looks so innocent, but it can throw you. This one's from a group, a fellow by name of Bill, not actually named Bill. They call themselves there's the Bill's Benevolent Association. I think that so what this was, there were two folks with this Bill's Benevolent Association, and I think they do some things together and also on their own. This one here is by Josh Bryan. I'm going to put up both of their stuff here. So Josh Bryan stuff can be found, there it is, at joshua.n.bryan. And I seem to think that there is a Bill's Benevolent Association one as well. And this is two people together, working together. And they were bills.benevolent.association. So yeah, they did some really fun stuff and really beautifully polished and put together. And the craft that's here really set it apart. Like as soon as I picked up this one here, I probably wouldn't normally care too much about cowboy poems, about Western style poems. But when I saw this piece and it's shiny, I don't know if that comes through, but it's got like a nice muted sheen to it. And it's just beautifully put together. Once again, sewn together in the binding, which I love that craft. And then on the inside, it's this beautiful rough rag paper that's quite thick with the rough exposed edges all the way around. So it's really, this whole piece is just like a masterpiece to actually be touching. And I'm sure you probably hear it through my mic of me just manhandling this thing and just running my fingers over every surface, and you just get, it's so perfectly put together for something that is cowboy poems, a set of cowboy poems, because it is when I see it, I want to see this kind of paper. I want to see these rough edges and these beautiful. I'm sounding suspicious now. Yeah, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to tactile, especially when you create a tactile experience with a piece of art like this. It just begs you to experience it tactily versus just taking it. I'll always prefer this over a painting on a wall, because I want to be able to interact with it and become have an experience and become a part of it by the tactile experience. So he's got these beautiful illustrations that are there. I don't know if it comes through so well, but it's like printmaking. I don't know how they printed this, if they did it as a printmaking exercise, with actually laying down each color, or if it was printed, digitally or in some way. I'm not 100%. It's hard for me to tell. I can't really tell how they produce this, if it's printed digitally or if it is screen printing. Got the guns, yeah. It's got little pew pews, so that we got some gunslinging cacti in the center here. We'll read a couple of these, and I'll do it with my best Southern twang. I took off my hat And with that howdy, less and less were with you. I took off my hat, and my horse was no one. I took off my hat. These men walked in with a gun. They would find you killed back 8 miles west. We'll read a couple more. I stand twice in an almighty quiet place. The graves make a handshake. I told him about a ranch. I belted on my back. I still got up and rode well. Yeah, so they're fun. Like, it's got that sort of stream of consciousness, almost like Adrian's stuff, but all cowboy stuff, which is cool. I live in a place that's still kind of Wild Westish, not like not like the States is, but where I live is called the Texas of Canada. So this stuff resonates with me. I'll read a couple more of these as well. I went to the cabin in the clearing, sad beneath the place where a horse thief saddled up. He has with him my shotgun and a holy terror tied to the saddle. I have ridden a horse. I have ridden a horse. I own a cowboy hat. I haven't ridden a horse in a long time. I'll say that. I was never a big horse rider. My friends who were ranchers and that sort of thing, that's more what they did. I'm a bit Western, but not that Western. I never fit in with the Western crowd that much. Let's read this one here. We're riding out. I began to water a gunfighter, but I had taken to think on pretty country, and at that time I was awoke to homesickness. Lots of mentions of guns, always. I love this. I like these two cacti having a little showdown. Moving to volume 2. So it's got volume 1 and volume 2. Here's a good one. This one talks lots about guns. Into this prairie dirt, in this very pasture, on the grass a half-mile back, stood a half-drawn pistol. Come on a bit south to get lead. Well, he's got some stuff that's really like almost what you'd call concrete poetry. If you've ever heard of the term concrete poetry, it's when the layout of the poem itself lends itself to the narrative that you're telling. It's always cool. Oh yeah, here's a good one. And I was me, my right hand might miss, and I looked good with a gun, and I gut shoot the street. Somebody swore and I didn't stop their voices, and I could shoot dead to rights. There's just so many good ones. I just want to keep reading them. You killed the sheriff friendship. 7 or 8 questions with a gun walked out spittin'. I'm gonna stand here sad, the shallow grave of friendship back yonder. Hey, old Josh here. He's actually young. He's actually quite a young guy. Young Josh here has a way with words. Yeah, wonderful stuff. And then there's lots of talk of coffee as well through here. I didn't read too many that mention coffee, but there's a lot about coffee and a lot about guns. So here at the end, we kind of get the two together here at the old fire. He's got his cup of coffee, percolator, and his gun. Says gun a lot. Says the word gun quite a lot. Yeah, I love this piece. It's really good. That's the Bill's Benevolent Association and Josh Bryan. Josh O'Brien? Just Josh Bryan, not O'Brien. Just Josh Bryan. The last stuff we're going to look at today, because this is going to be a very short one, we're going to look at the work that Kevin Stebner does. Kevin Stebner puts on the Starry Dynamo creator markets, and he does this kind of work. I've never seen somebody do this before, and it is absolutely astonishing to me. Let me put his information up first, and then I'll show you what I mean. Kevin Stebner, you can follow on Instagram at Revolution Winter. And we're going to close out the show taking a nice deep look at what he's got here. These ones are tough to show on camera here, but just because they're so large. These are large, printed on newsprint. And what he does is he has a collection of different ways he does things. It's always for sure, Mapricot, great to see you. I hope you get some sleep. Hope you fall asleep soon, and we'll talk soon. He has old typewriters as well as Letraset type and some other ways that he does things, but mostly he does his stuff mechanically with actual typewriters, creating these amazing compositions using these old mechanical means of doing so. Looking at, creating these wonderful, insane compositions. Monolithics 1, always typewriter on paper. Yeah, so all of this is actually typed. This is printed from that, but it was created from an actual typewriter, doing almost like ASCII art on an old computer, but done purely mechanically. And sometimes it's got words in it, like here it's got another rhyming couplet repeated. Here it says trouble in mind. Kind of looks like it's a monolith. It's a tower being struck by something is how I read into this. Yeah, and he's got these like huge towers, and he's creating all these shapes. So I wish I had a better way to show all this. Like, look at the shapes he's creating. He's making those that look like tubes, and that's purely manipulation of the typewriter at different angles, using different characters. This looks like the old Kerplunk game I used to play when I was a kid. This is Monolithics number 3, Non-Confidence. Created some actual, looks like trees or foliage on top of it. Amazing stuff. I've got another one here that this one here deals more with geometric shapes, and look how clean. When you're zoomed out to the way that we're looking at here, it creates just the shape really makes sense. But then you go right into it, and suddenly you're seeing the genius here. The way he's choosing the correct characters to create depth and shading. How a series of 7s over here versus a series of R's over here, you get shadow and light. It's incredible. He's incredible. And just, creating all these almost impossible, you're getting almost an Escher, MC Escher impossible constructions on top of the geometric side of it. I'd say if you like any of this stuff that he's doing, check out then definitely check out Kevin's Instagram that's over there. because it has some of his really recent work he's been doing, which is really incredible stuff. Using lots of times doing concrete poetry from Letraset. So Letraset, if you've never heard of that, it's characters and things like that that are on a transferable sheet. So you laid it down and you rub on the sheet and it transfers onto whatever paper or substrate you've put it on. So you can do some really cool stuff with it. So let's take a quick look here. Here's a piece that's he's just posted this last week on the 10th that's using Letraset. It's just incredible. Here's some more of the stuff he was doing with the typewriter style, doing a poster for Sled Island, which is a big music festival here in Calgary. There's some more Letraset concrete poetry there. And it's incredible. Once again, same with when I was saying about Adrian Adams stuff. I could never, my brain cannot, I'd go crazy trying to make this. It would drive me insane. Try to put my meaning down in this sort of abstracted way. It's beautiful. It's absolutely astounding. So look out here as well as a book that Kevin put out called Layout. Once again, this one here, I can actually feel the ink on it. It feels, once again, fun tactile stuff. I always love fun tactile stuff. So once again, you can see the form, you can see shadow, light, form, shape. And when I bring it in, then you see the real genius of this. It's purely using lines from a typewriter to achieve that effect. And it harkens back, like I was saying, ASCII art, like old art on an Apple II computer in 1986. It feels like that. Two vessels pouring water, or two pipes pouring water out into a hole. And you can just, yeah, you look at this one here and you imagine this huge structure in a lake. But it's achieved so simply. And then by using, so he actually has different colored ink ribbons for these old typewriters that he uses. He was showing me some of the stuff, showing me the typewriter and some of the ink that has it. So it's this precious commodity, right? Because it's hard to find that stuff. So that's another amazing thing about it is that Kevin has to use economy and efficiency to make these things because he's doing it in that mechanical way. It has to be done right. It has to have a lot of thinking behind it. It has to have a lot of the amount of experimentation you must have to do is astounding. And he's able to every single one you look at here. This one's you picture that you're maybe looking at something straight on, and then he's able to achieve these different vantage points, these different perspectives, just this you're viewing it from above. This here you picture yourself at a 3/4 perspective looking down on something. And then you get to here, you're almost right above this 3-tiered tower. I picture as sort of this strange tower in the middle of a desert. Or this one here, you're pulled further back and you're seeing water cascading down off of a strange structure, rippling off in the pool down to this drain below. You can picture you're seeing the structure below the water, but obscured and refracted. And he gets it. And just by manipulating type, he achieves these things. And here he's actually having the lines butt up right against each other to create these shapes, these almost linkages. I find it quite incredible. And I'm amazed at how each one of these, you know, I would be tempted if I were doing a series like this to have so many things that would be rigidly to one sort of structure, more like what we saw with this piece here, where it was really about these specific colors and shapes. But in this book here for layout, each one of these is radically different. You can just see the amount of exploration. Here he's actually put blue and red. He's working with a dark blue and a red, and here he's put the two together to get a different color here as well. It's just wild. So it's taking some of the principles of printmaking and design and using all of that together, and the amount of exploration and the amount of experimentation is wild. Here you get an idea of a huge mountain through stratas of clouds with vegetation and foliage below. And again, this entire, you can picture a huge region of trees and foliage, and it's less than a dozen lines of green text that achieves that. Complex construction and almost perspective work here. Once again, into the geometric. You see some recurring themes happening. There's that sort of linked shape again. But for the most part, every single one is almost wholly different and original. This one here, you see, you can picture it winding further and further up the structure. Knocks my socks off. And then when he does return to this sort of almost a more two-dimensional, it's like a shock to your system, that simplicity. It's wonderfully curated, it's wonderfully put together. This was composed over the years of 2020 and 2021, using only a Remington Performer, an oversized carriage Remington, and an Olympia Traveler Deluxe typewriter. Wow. Amazing. It's crazy to think that all of this is the work of one mind and 3 typewriters. It's beautiful. Okay, so I promised a short episode, and that's what I'm giving you. We're going to delve probably deeper into some things next week. I wanted to do just a very, just sort of to mop up some things out of this box that I've got. So we've still got Nick Johnson stuff, as well as we have stuff from Chad Colpitts and Cam Hayden, the B-Movie Garbage, and Craigers. And then we've got a few pieces from Nick Johnson we're going to touch on in a further one. My collection of business cards from various shows I've been at. Some people's cards are really beautiful too. This one's from Mike Hooves. Look at that. Beautiful. So many talented people who live in this vicinity. I'm very, very lucky to be alive during this time and meeting all these people. Okay, so that's it for this week. Next week, we will delve into some more indie content and see what we come up with. So thank you so much for joining me.